Hey guys, wanted to put an update out on the channel. So I've got the shop lights off so there's not as much of a glare. I don't know if you noticed the video last time, there were some lighting artifacts in there from the LED lights. So I've got the workbench light on, got the shop lights off just so we can see what's going on there. Oh, look, a little grease in there. Great. Anyway, so this is the cart. This is the shrine cart. We're rebuilding these little big rig go-karts for the shrine out here. And this is the prototype. That's what we've elected to call it. The prototype. We have 11 trucks, I think. Normally we number them 1 through 11. And then this one's the prototype. It will eventually be number 6. But that's neither here nor there. So, showed you before I was putting the independent front suspension on them. The clutch assembly needed to be replaced because it wasn't disengaging when we were driving. So when we did test drives here, it would go, but as soon as you let off the gas, it was still trying to pull. So we found out that the clutch just was not releasing like it's supposed to. It's got a clutch and torque converter assembly in it that hooks to the chain drive, so that the faster you go, it changes the gear ratio effectively, and then you go faster. Or at lower speed, you can actually pull more, which is more important to us with these little big rig trucks, because we put trailers on the back of them, which adds more weight, so they're a lot heavier than a regular go-kart and they're pulling more. So we want them to have more torque and less horsepower. But this little motor, it's a Predator 212, pretty standard motor, very common. You get them from Harbor Freight pretty cheaply. This is the motor that's on this. We haven't modified. We've put it on this go-kart. We literally didn't do anything else to the motor. Didn't change any of the electronics on it. Didn't do any head work or valve work or anything like that to it. So took it out yesterday to the shrine to do partially a test drive, but also we needed to work on the other trucks because we're getting them ready for a parade. And took the other ones around the parking lot. They're running pretty good. We got 1 or 2 that need some maintenance, but we got some ready for the parade. So then I brought this off the truck and showed it to the guys. Showed them what I'm doing with it, with all the measurements and how the suspension's put together and all that sort of stuff. Put it on the ground, and after I replaced the clutch assembly on it, let them drive it. And the reactions that I got from the guys driving this thing was just absolute amazement, because we hadn't had a chance here to fully open it up. Most of the time I've had to work on it's been cold and rainy. As a matter of fact, it's actually raining outside right now, or I'd show you a test drive with it. But and it was dark the last couple times we worked on it here. When the guys were here, we actually strapped my flashlight to the front of it to try to see where we were going, and it's just too dark and you can't see what's going on with the parts of the car while we're working on it. Anyway, so I put a couple of guys on it and had them running around the parking lot, and they would get halfway around the parking lot, get around the corner, and they'd open it up, and oh my god, and holy crap, and all these sort of exclamations, because it's really fast. I was surprised how fast it actually is. It's not our goal with it. The plan was to make it just perform better. They say it rides a lot smoother with the suspension on it, and it's a lot easier to control because the suspension's set up with various geometry adjustments. You can see the end links right here. We can adjust the camber on them. We can adjust the toe in and out and all these sort of things, so that we can get them to ride just like we want. Plus this one, this is the front end of it, and it's really, really light. We have to be careful with it on the sawhorses because the motor is the only thing that has any weight to this thing. It's in the back end, so just one hand you can pick up the front of it, even though it has the brakes and the suspension and all this on the front end. It's that light. Like I said before, I estimate this chassis is about 60 pounds lighter than the original one, and you can feel it. You get on it, you go around the corner, and you accelerate, and you can see the front end lift. You can see the suspension fully expand, and as you go around the corner, you can see it compress in the right place. As you hit the brakes, you see the front end, nosedive a little bit. Not too bad. It never drags the front end. It never bumps into anything. You can see the suspension work. It's really cool. But when you go around the corner with it, if you open it up, it will lift the front end, and it pushes a little bit, but not really bad. The brakes work really well on it. They were very happy with how well it stops. It's got disc brakes on both front tires and disc brake on the one drive tire in the back. When the clutch disengages, you hit the brakes and it will stop it very well. So we're very happy with that. They're really happy with the prototype, where we're at with it. So what we're going to do now, in a couple of days when it warms up, I can back the Jeep up outside out of the way. It's got a cage assembly that goes over the top of it, and that will hold the fiberglass shell that looks like the big rig truck. That's going to go on the front of it, and then I'm not going to move the camera. There's a piece of fiberglass right here to the back. It's the back shell that goes over the motor. We added some rivet nut inserts into the chassis in the back so we can bolt that fiberglass straight to it instead of trying to reach underneath the truck with a nut and reach in the top and try to put it together. Now you can just go straight into the chassis from the top. So special shout out to Lewis for making me a tool to do that. I've got a hydraulic hole punch from Harbor Freight that we used to put holes in all kinds of stuff. And we had originally modified a tool to fit that hole punch tool to compress the rivet nut inserts. And it didn't work all that well most of the time. A lot of times the pressure on it would actually break the weld on the two pieces we had welded together to make the pieces connect. So I talked to Lewis, a guy I work with. He's got a lathe at home. And I kind of showed him what I was working with and gave him all the pieces that I kind of cobbled together and the pieces you have to hold together and whatnot to make this thing work. And, he took it home, played with it for a couple of weeks, and came back and gave me two tools for the rivet nut inserts. So, as I throw them all over the place, these are the rivet nut inserts. Get the right camera here. There we go. And as you thread them down, they compress. And I've got two different sizes. These are the 1/4 for small pieces, and then I've got some 3/16 or 1/2 inch by 3/16 larger ones. And he made a tool for each of those sizes that will thread into the hole punch tool, and use a hydraulic ram and compress it, and it expands down inside the metal here, and it holds it really well. So now all we have to do is thread a bolt down from the top, and you're done. And I'm looking at using these in quite a few other places. One of the things I've got in here now, I don't know if you can see because it's kind of dark in here, the clamps that are holding the floor pan in. I haven't cut and bead rolled the panel that's going to go in there. And I'm kind of kicking around the idea of putting rivet nut inserts on the bottom of the chassis and screwing the floor pan to the bottom of the chassis so that you can take it off and replace it and do other things with it. Or weld it straight to it. Not really sure which way I want to go with that. Kind of like the idea of it being replaceable and you can do different things with it, but it may not be a part that we're changing all that often, so welding it might just make the most sense. We'll see where that goes. The brake lines, they're kind of a mess right now. You can see we've got to rearrange them and organize them and make them sit down a little bit smoother. But it works really well. The guys are very happy with it, so I was hoping to be done by now, but we want to do it the right way, so we're taking our time, figuring a few things out. You can see the Jeep, it's sitting over here. It's running pretty well. I got to do a little tune-up on it. Started it the other day, and it wanted to kind of hesitate and not pull correctly. I think the timing's off on it a little bit, so that'll be interesting to adjust. But other than that, not a whole lot else going on. Just waiting for the weather to warm up, waiting for it to stop raining. At least it's rain and not snow. We've had very little snow this winter, which is partially a good thing because we have better weather, but also a bad thing because I am so wanting to take the Jeep out and play in the snow, and we just haven't had any to deal with. So I'm hoping we get one good snowfall, maybe here in a couple of weeks, because it's still February, and then after that we're done, and it goes back to like this weekend. It was like 55, 60 degrees outside. It was not windy. It was a beautiful day. We were able to get a lot done. So that's all I really got going on here. Talk to you guys later. If you have any comments or questions, put them down below, and talk to you later.